Podcast.
Do you like the idea of somebody having longer arms than you might expect?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. Big Michael Phelps fan.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. You could argue that Luffy's sort of the Michael Phelps of One Piece in a variety
Mr. Fantastic.
of ways.
Like, I love the Fantastic Four,
Yeah.
right? I don't like Mr. Fantastic, the person, but I like his power set. You know what I mean? Elongated man. Right?
That can't be a real guy. Tom, is that a real guy?
I don't know.
That's a real guy.
Finally,
What?
there's somebody here
Define real.
where Neil's going to say some shit and we're both going to not know what he means.
Yeah, Ralph Dibny from DC Comics, Elongated Man.
So is Ralph
All
Dibny
right.
the creator of Elongated Man, or is
No,
he
that's his-
Elongated Man?
That he is the elongated man, right?
I guess they were onto something with the whole like Peter Parker, Bruce Banner name approach, because Ralph Dibny is absolutely wild.
Yeah, he's DC Comics. Who did anyone own him before DC? It doesn't matter, but
He belonged to humanity.
they want. But what's funny about Elongated Man is that they created his character because they wanted someone who could like do like stretchy stuff, right? They just like
I
the
bet.
power set, all right. And they didn't realize that they already had the rights to the character Plastic Man, who has the exact same power set. So they ended up making a second one. So there's just two of them in the DC universe.
That was an inevitability, I think.
But Elongated Man is like a detective. Like he's like smart, right?
Oh, he can really reach for those clues.
He can, hey yo, he can really stretch his brain. You know what I'm
he's
saying?
sort of like flexible Batman.
Right. He is.
There's some vital evidence on the top of this bookshelf, but it's really high.
somebody call Elongated Man.
You know how like the brain has wrinkles,
Uh-huh.
and those are sort of important for various brain
Sure.
activities.
Those are all the things you've learned.
He can stretch his brain out, and there's just other wrinkles in there.
He can just wrinkle it up real good, and
ironically, he can also like de-wrinkle it quite well. The longer his arms get,
he
the
can't.
stupider he becomes.
that's dangerous. Because if he smooths his brain out, he may not remember how to wrinkle it again. You know?
Well, no, that part he keeps in his heart.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, his heart has wrinkles?
No,
I'm
but
not
that's like where the
following.
knowledge of that.
That doesn't sound good.
It's sort of like a Care Bears kind of situation.
Or like a Captain Planet.
Well, I thought Captain
Situation.
had like 5 teens,
Yeah, one of them was heart.
right?
Right.
But he didn't keep anything in that kid, I don't think.
Pretty sure he kept his. Yeah. No, Captain Planet hopefully didn't keep anything in that child.
Maybe in the monkey.
The monkey.
Oh, God.
Is there a monkey?
Jesus
in?
Christ.
Yeah, the hot guy has a monkey.
He has
Yeah,
a monkey.
Yes, the Indian boy has a monkey.
Oh, so the show was racist.
Yes, the show was
Oh.
racist.
Yeah. Is he Indian or like Peruvian? I haven't
I'm
seen
not
it in a long
sure.
time.
Feels like a whoever
Maybe-
wins, we lose kind of scenario with wherever.
Yeah.
Am I racist for assuming the boy with the monkey was Indian?
I doubt it was like cast in an appropriate manner.
Well, I apologize if the apology is necessary.
That's a bold strategy for any sort of entertainer to approach apologies with. Saying, I apologize if an apology is necessary. You can apply that to
Just
a lot
blanket.
of scenarios.
Well, I tell you what. How about this? If an apology is necessary, the boys at mkpodquest.com, and I will respond.
What if
with
we
a
had an
genuine
auto
apology.
reply email
Shh.
that was just
We're
like,
gonna-
we're very sorry.
That's what. All right.
Anyway,
Book of Swords, everyone.
and perhaps more importantly, a very special guest. You've heard him, you'll love him.
A returning guest
Yeah.
from Outworld, right? That's the joke that I make on occasion. That Australia is Outworld.
We can start that now if it wasn't what we were doing before.
I might just do that in my head, in which case I apologize to all of Australia
The boys at mkpodcast.com.
and our very special guest, Dominic. How's it going?
G'day.
All right.
That's my
Welcome back.
contractual obligation.
Sure.
We got one of
Australianness.
those,
Yeah.
and later today, let's just say he might talk about the size of a weapon, and those are kind of the two main things that we're going to get out of that.
I might make some comparisons about the blades in this
Yeah.
particular piece of media.
And now I do want to establish one thing that I just think is fun, which is that we're doing a rarely spotted late night MK podcast for 67% of the show.
Sure.
But
66.6 repeating.
Yeah, round up. But Dom, it's like this is like the best part of waking up is the Book of Swords for you.
Yeah, this is
Yes.
you have to talk about this right away.
It's currently It's currently 8:55 a.m. here. So I'm fresh as a daisy.
Jesus. On the day after us, right?
I'm in the future.
All right. So anything
If I have
important
one message for you, it's to not watch the Book of Swords.
Hey, I'm coming out swinging. Holy
That's
shit.
my message from the future.
You don't want to know what happens if you watch the Book of Swords. My arms won't stop stretching.
Jesus Christ.
You know, I've actually read the Book of Swords.
Oh.
The titular Book of Swords or like a Book of Swords?
Yeah, I read the Book of Swords. It had a lot of points.
Hey, yo. All
Hey.
right.
Do you think if I went into a Chapters or similar bookstore and I asked, hey, do you guys have the Book of Swords? Like, what would they say?
They would probably have a Book of Swords. So I don't know.
What do you default to in that scenario?
What this chapters shit is.
Oh, most of them have been rebranded to Indigo, which is like the parent company. But Chapters was like a chain bookstore, sort of a Barnes and Noble kind of situation. Or
That's our only chain bookstore. I guess there's still Books a Millions, but
I hate to do this because I genuinely don't like when it's just haha tell us Australian thing. But what is the Australian chain bookstore?
Probably the biggest one is called Dominic.
Dimmicks?
Yeah, I
That's
think
fun.
it's just kind of named after the guy who found it.
Yeah.
We
Sort of
used
a
to have Borders, but then obviously like that collapsed in general.
God, I miss Borders.
So
I liked Borders.
what I'm hearing is we could do like a proper academic study of how chain bookstores respond to the request for the Book of Swords.
So I have looked up on barnesandnoble.com Book of Swords. I can give you some results here.
Okay.
Yeah, none of them are titled Book of Swords though, so I don't know if it's worth it.
Okay, so yeah, but just give me one and then I'm going to just do it on the Chapters website.
All right, we got the Sword of Moses. We've got the Sword of Shannara trilogy by Terry Brooks. Okay. Sword of Moses, by the way, by Dominic Selwood. No relation, as far as I know.
That's my pen name.
Hold on. Can I derail this completely?
Yeah, we also have the Sword of Secrets. Go ahead.
So I typed in the URL incorrectly. I just put chapters.indigo and I had to put chapters.indigo.ca. The first sponsored book result, and I swear to God, this is true,
Jesus Christ,
is called The South Was Right by Walter Donald Kennedy.
Jesus fucking Christ.
To which I opened that and said, well, what does that mean?
Which South?
Could be like the Civil War American South.
All right.
Was right. Issues addressed in new edition. Confederate heroes are not traitors. Yankees, the creators of Jim Crow laws. Truth about the life of slaves in the Old South.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Republican
This
Party
feels-
as the godfather of modern day big government. How the Southern shadow government can save the South. This is like real.
Yeah.
This is like a real. What the?
Yeah, this is the kind of shit that people are arguing should be taught in schools
There's stuff
here in
this
my
explanation
country.
that I won't even say. Oh my God. Why is this on the website under military history? Wow. I might write a complaint. This is crazy.
Yeah, maybe you should.
Talk. Whoa. This is not my Book of Swords. I'll tell you that much. I can't believe that.
In some lighter news, I've searched the Book of Swords on Dimmicks. There is a book called The Book of Swords, and it's by author Gardner Dozois, which is a fun name.
That is fun.
It's like a collection of fantasy tales by people including George R.R. Martin.
Real quick, Corey, that book that you found is the opposite of the Book of Swords in that it doesn't raise a lot of good points.
Got him.
Yeah.
Also, I have actually looked up the Book of Swords this time, and the result is The Sword of Kai Gen by M.L. Wang, which is some sort of
Okay.
fictional sword story.
I have found what looks like perhaps an erotic novel.
Okay.
Peggy Goody, Demodus and the Sword of Destiny, Book 2.
Do we think the first book was also erotic, or did they just sort of pivot?
I don't know, but it's got that generic, this is a horny book cover. This is not what we're here to talk about. And
maybe The South Was Right is actually an erotic novel, but it's just kind of using the South as the metaphor for genitals.
No, Neil, I think this is what we're here to talk about, because look at that book cover, bro. What on earth?
Yeah, this guy holding a flaming sword, shirtless, right? Holding a flaming sword, as if grasping his own penis. But it's a sword instead.
Did that guy get the Power Stone? Jeez, look at that.
And it is on fire.
Dom, are you seeing this?
Why did I click on this book and the Nook app is opening? Oh, there's a preview. This is a long book.
Just like One Piece, there's so much dialogue.
This is the one piece of possibly erotic books that have sword in the title.
Dominic, when you woke up at like 8 a.m. or whatever, whenever you woke up, was this what you were hoping we were going to do?
Yeah.
Or?
Are you regretting this yet?
It's not what I was expecting, but
that's what we promise.
I'm not saying I'm angry.
Should we just get into it here?
Let's just jump right into it, etc.
Let's just talk about this 1996 martial arts, I'll say it, masterpiece, Book of Swords.
Yeah, okay.
I'll say it. That doesn't mean I mean
fucking
it.
Whatever.
People are going to wonder why we're talking about this, so I feel like we should do the Neil Nook first, so I can explain why.
Yeah, I think you guys can have a good chat about this.
Okay, I'm gonna hit the sounder here. Welcome to the Neil Nook.
It's Gucci.
This movie has a bunch of Mortal Kombat people in it.
Oh,
was it the whole Neil Nook?
All right, first I want to say that this movie was directed, we're not going to get to the Mortal Kombat people yet. This movie was directed by Peter Allen, who has directed this movie and a couple of other music videos and things. But the name, do you guys remember a movie that came out in 2010 called Takers?
No,
it was, boy, I remember making a lot of jokes about how it was the movie taken from the kidnapper's perspective, but that's not what the movie is at all. It's a movie starring Chris Brown, Hayden Christensen, Matt Dillon, Idris Elba, T.I., and Paul Walker.
Oh, okay. That's not sort of what I was expecting you to say at all.
Yeah, and it's about a bunch of bank robbers. They're the takers, and then I believe Matt Dillon is the detective trying to stop from taking things. Peter Allen, director of Book of Swords, is one of the 3 credited writers of that movie that I think just absolutely failed at the box office, but I caught on cable one day, and it wasn't that bad.
Okay. What's his most recent writing credit? Pretty
sure it's Takers from 2010.
That's fair. Yeah, absolutely. Look, man, sometimes you peak with Takers.
Foreign Land, Anywhere USA, Road Back in 2017. And then he's got something called Cutting Addiction he wrote that's upcoming. And I hate the new IMDb so much. Jesus fucking Christ. And then 2 shorts he's got upcoming as well. So
anyway, he, and also I think a lot of people would agree with me that Paul Walker also peaked with Takers.
Paul Walker, incredible performance. Like, first of all, rest in peace. If you don't know, I had feelings for that man, and boy was he charming in this movie. Like, he was the best part of it. And I am biased, all right, I'll admit.
I think a lot of people like Paul. I don't think you're gonna find a lot of argument.
I remember enjoying his performance in the movie Takers. All right. Jesus Christ, I cannot keep a fucking tab open for this goddamn movie. All right. Peter Allen is also credited as one of the writers of this movie, as is A.D. Dietrich, who wrote the screenplay and cameos in this movie as the bartender. But the other writer of this movie is a man named Ho Sung Pak.
Friend of the show.
Also stars in this movie. Ho Sung Pak, superstar from WMAC Masters. Liu Kang in Mortal Kombat 1 and 2 did the video capture.
So we have a reason to talk about this. Everybody back off. Stop writing your emails.
While we're at it, well, actually, I will say Ho Sung Pak also, one of his earliest roles, his first credited role, actually, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, as a stunt coordinator and the fight double for Raphael.
I thought you were going to say he played the pizza box.
Then he does Mortal Kombat 1. Then he does Ninja Turtles 3 stunt double for Raphael. And then he does Mortal Kombat 2. He does stunts in Torque, right? The Last Airbender, a bunch of the Transformers movies. A little film, Corey, that's on our list for the future called Blood Rain. And Westworld, Bullet Train, Rush Hour. Wait, this is a TV short. Rush Hour 4, Face Off 2. Do you know what that is?
Wait, like those things were said together?
Rush Hour 4, Face/Off 2 from 2015. This is some TV short.
Is that like an
I believe it was like a Funny or Die kind of situation.
Okay, that makes sense.
Oh, did they swap? Did they do the thing that it sounds like they did? Where they swapped?
I haven't actually seen it. I just
sort of face-off scenario.
I don't know that we need to dig too deep into this.
Oh, what? Do you not think the Google searches of this episode have been going particularly well?
No, not so far. Not I don't know. I feel like we should stay focused on this one. Probably the man's Ho Sung Pak's coolest credit outside of WMAC Masters is The Legend of Drunken Master, starring Jackie Chan. Ho Sung Pak is second billed on IMDb. He plays Henry.
Yeah, he's kind of like the sub boss, I guess. He's like the second last fight in that movie.
That's pretty dope.
Really incredible fight performance from him in that.
Very cool. Yeah, I have not seen Legend of Drunken Master probably since 1994. So I feel like that's one I should go revisit. Check out Ho Sung Pak.
It's definitely TMAO worthy.
Yeah, it might be on some sort of list that we have somewhere.
We got to have Dominic on that episode when you come to it.
Surely this will be the thing that makes him want to return after the Mitchy Poppins incident. But
the Mitchy Poppins incident.
It's the funnier way to
describe it. The one that I
started? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the funniest way I could think to describe it. But I do want to sort of give a quick shout out here. Dominic, you're sort of known... You're low key a little bit of an action Twitter guy.
Yeah.
And so
for as long as Twitter
remains
still a website,
you'll be in the mix. But
do you need a Blue Sky?
I got
invite?
one.
No,
you're on Action right? Blue Sky. But
okay.
And obviously you're familiar with some of Ho Sung Pak's deeper cuts. So was this something you already had familiarity with, or like is there anything that we have not mentioned that we ought to? In the host verse,
like I'm going through his list of roles here, and I'm not seeing anything that's new to me, or I didn't know anything about the Book of Swords until Neil sent me a link to it.
He has a way of doing that.
Few people.
It was
did.
him and Ho Sung Pak, basically.
Just kind of us, me and him, separately, but we both knew about it.
I was pretty excited to get into it. I'm a fan of like 90s action movies.
Yeah, what's your preferences or niche in that space? That might be a good like baseline to set for folks.
Probably should have done that before we started the Neil Nook, but we're not.
This is how we adapt. I'm just chatting with my with old mate.
We're structuring this podcast much like the movie.
Sort of ramshackle.
Completely making no sense, random.
Yeah.
Flying by the seat of our pants.
And then we'll flash back to the Neil Nook in a few minutes.
Exactly. For 0.5 seconds. I'd say that this movie actually kind of, on paper, ticks off a lot of my boxes in that it's a cop looking for revenge in the 90s, but it's also got this like genre twist where it's where there's kind of magicians involved in like other realms. I'm kind of
sounds a lot like a
certain video game, maybe
a certain video game series, doesn't it?
I'm a big fan of that kind of thing where it takes a regular action movie and then puts just like a bit of another twist on it. Obviously, like the high standard for that is something like Predator, where it starts as like this action commando movie in the jungle and then turns into basically like a extraterrestrial horror movie. But like recently I've been
From Dusk Till Dawn,
like all of that kind of stuff where it kind of takes a left turn, and even like more just like I've been watching a lot of Jean-Claude Van Damme movies recently, and like his 90s stuff in particular. And like the stuff that I have had the most fun with, I think, are movies like Double Team and Time Cop, the ones where they kind of just have this like they take technology, they do a sort of sci-fi thing, but it's all from the perspective of like, what will life be like in the 2000s, basically. And so it's like, it's a lot of like plastic technology and like sort of eyepieces and stuff like that, which I'm just kind of like really into.
Google Glass was going to be the big
exactly
thing.
Sure. More like Kano, or like that one Sonic the Hedgehog comic book where Knuckles had a robot eye.
Yeah, it's like the Dragon Ball Z visor kind of core, the Power Scout. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So like I'm into that kind of stuff where it's a bit goofy and it's got a bit of a genre bent to it. So like on paper, this movie could have been right up my alley, but then I watched it.
Before we put too much into that, I do want to ask, does it count as a genre bend to make Jean-Claude Van Damme fight a hockey mascot, therefore making it a sports movie?
That movie, Sudden Death, is so fucking good.
Sudden Death is great.
I'm glad you guys knew the name of the movie, because I didn't, but I knew he fought the Pittsburgh Penguins penguin.
He cuts his head off, I believe, right? How does he dispatch the guy in the suit? Or
I don't remember how it ends, but that's a great fight. That was like the instant in that movie where I was like, okay, I'm into this.
Yeah, that movie rules. We had that on VHS. I would watch it a lot.
I had a chance to buy it recently on VHS and didn't, and maybe I whiffed on that. Though my VCR is currently broken, so it wouldn't have made much of a difference.
You guys turn your attention to the chat. Here's Knuckles with a robot eye.
I'm sorry, is his name Enobius?
No, it's Mobius 25 years later.
That's a bad font for that, because it looks like looks like Enobius.
Yeah,
it does look like Enobius.
No, that's literally Knuckles. That is the man himself.
Hold on.
With a robot.
Why is he?
we don't have time.
You wanted to see since visiting your grandfather, whom I will always regret you never met. Wait, how did he visit him?
This is a Knuckles. This is a Knuckles who fucks. All right.
Fuckles.
All right. Let's get back to the Neil Nook here. We got to reset here. We're gonna flash back. So
you got a sound for that?
Welcome to the Neil Nook. It's Gucci.
All right, we're back. So Ho-Sung Pak, star of this movie, right, plays a character named Lang, which people on the internet are quick to point out seems like a contraction of the name Liu Kang. I don't know about that, right? But
no,
maybe.
It's not. Let's I think it's fair to just say that it isn't.
Up next on our Mortal Kombat alumni list, we have Richard DeVizio.
Which guy is that?
That is Taz. That is the
He's the
bad guy?
Okay, thank you. Because I was gonna say I don't know who Taz is.
The bald man. Yes, yeah. Richard DeVizio, who did he was Kano, right, in Mortal Kombat 1 and 2. 1 and 3. I guess he's also technically Kano in Mortal Kombat 2 because he's in the background. He also is Baraka in Mortal Kombat 2 and Cabal in Mortal Kombat 3. And in Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero, he is the live-action Quan Chi.
Oh.
And I guess he's the capture for Quan Chi as well. And Shang Tsung, and he is the voice of Quan Chi in Mortal Kombat 4. He's also an uncredited Chechen gangster in The Dark Knight.
Damn.
And he was also in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2 Secret of the Ooze as one of the foot soldiers.
Is he the only guy who has ever been in Mortal Kombat?
He's been in a lot of them. Apparently I'm going to say allegedly, he's also in Injustice 2 as Sub-Zero, uncredited, but I don't know, like as motion capture, right? And maybe also motion capture in Mortal Kombat.
I like that allegedly makes it sound like him doing the motion capture for Sub-Zero and Injustice 2 was like illegal.
Well, usually those things aren't listed in additional crew, right, on your IMDb. They're more like just in your actual like acting. Like when it's motion capture and stuff, usually that's not just additional crew. You know what I mean?
And also, if they find out that he did that, he will be shot.
Right.
Allegedly.
Right. He might be shot. Now, up next, further down on the call list, right, for Mortal Kombat alumni is a man named Daniel Piscina, also in this movie, as a hitman, right? Did you guys spot
I don't
Daniel
know who
Piscina?
that is.
I didn't really understand. I didn't know him by his face. Was he the guy behind the bar that fights him in the club?
He fights him in the club, like on that catwalk.
Yeah, he started out behind the bar and then he sort of jumped over it and then
Yes. And he's got sunglasses on, I believe. echoing his character from Mortal Kombat 1 and 2, where he plays Johnny Cage, but also Scorpion and Sub-Zero and Reptile,
this is the part where you guys are going to notice very quickly that I don't know anybody who is actually in those games.
No, you're good. I don't know all of them either by name, but I'm learning them. Also, a foot soldier in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze. And he's the guy who, like, what did he do? He did like an advertising campaign for like a rival fighting game called like Bloodstorm or something, and like Midway got mad about that. I don't know. He's kind of a, how do I put this nicely?
He's a bit of a wild card.
He's not just a bit of a wild card. He's a bit of a storyteller too, right?
Oh, like he might just be making a bunch of shit up.
Like he kind of maybe is. Yeah, he's a storyteller.
I mean, I'll call a spade a spade.
So yeah, but like it's like. I don't know how true or untrue any of the stuff he says is. It's just he says a lot of things about stuff. But yeah, he was in this as just did a fight scene, right? And honestly, that was one of the better fight scenes in the movie. That was one where the camera seemed to like stay still and frame the action for the most part.
I don't know if that's just because they couldn't really move on that catwalk.
We got one more Mortal Kombat alumni main video game alumni in the cast list here, and it is Catalin Zamiar, who plays female ninja.
Okay, the one female ninja. So that's an actual helpful credit, despite being as vague as possible.
Literally only one, right? And she played Kitana and Melina in Mortal Kombat 2. So naturally in Book of Swords, she's got her face covered and is fighting with size like Melina, right? Also, she follows us on Instagram. Shout out to Catalin. Come on the show. She's also in something called Catfight, the Ultimate Female Fighting Game, which I have never heard of, but came out in 1996.
Have to Google whatever that is.
In this Mortal Kombat clone, 11 of the toughest female warriors have entered a martial arts tournament to determine who's the toughest. The game uses digitized actresses and
boy, does it.
She's the only one on the IMDb page.
That's literally like a joke from The Simpsons, that catfighting video game thing.
Atlantean Interactive Games with some pretty cool music for their.
Wow, this is not something you want to search for with safe search off.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Because the gameplay footage I'm seeing is pretty viewable at your workplace, is how I would put it.
Yeah, mine gave me pornography.
Oh, it wasn't the game. Right. Okay. I thought you meant that you saw stuff like from the game. Okay.
I literally copy and pasted Catfight, the Ultimate Female Fighting Game from IMDb. All of those words into the Bing search bar and clicked images. And the
frame rate, I got to say, isn't amazing.
This doesn't look like a very good game. We're going to cover it on a future episode.
Oh, God.
So that's our main Mortal Kombat connections. We do have two more. The first one I'm going to go with...
Hold on, can I interrupt for a split second?
Yeah, you
Trust me, dude. So this comment on this YouTube video of catfight gameplay is 12 years old from @TheMysteriousAtheist.
Okay.
And it says, people dislike this game? Wow, surprising. This is one of the premier fighting games of our time and literally redefined the way fighting games were made. This game is legendary.
I think they're confused. I think they're a little confused there.
Also, I have figured out who in this game is relevant to us thanks to an 11-year-old YouTube comment from somebody else. Pro tip, the girl with the green mask is played by Catalin Zamiar.
I guess we shall say Catalin Zamiar is Jade as well in Mortal Kombat 2. Okay.
Correct.
All right.
Anyway, I've done my part.
I'm going to start with, we're going to do this guy first. The man who did the voiceover for, who's the bad guy in this? Not Taz, the book. Who's the book tied to? Listen, it's going to be, you guys are going to have to,
I don't know anybody's name.
Tao Singh.
The guy who did the voiceover at the beginning and the end about the book.
The guy who directed The Cell.
Man named TJ Storm. TJ Storm, Corey, this is a name I brought up on the show before. They are an uncredited fighter in Mortal Kombat, just an extra in Mortal Kombat 1995, right? They're also uncredited in the Street Fighter movie. They played Man. Okay.
Iconic role.
Everybody remembers where they were when they first saw Man.
They're Bayu in the Conan the Adventurer TV series, which is kind of a fun connection because who's our friend who played Omegis?
Oh, I don't remember. I'm sorry. Girl. Man and woman. I don't know.
I had her name before we recorded.
Oh,
Angelica Bridges.
Wow, we did it.
Yeah. Angelica Bridges plays Red Sonja on the Conan the Adventurer TV series. I think it's just one episode, but that's a nice little connection there as well.
I can't believe we pulled that so fast. I'm proud of us.
We only podcast about one thing. He's in the Blood Rain movie, right? Along with Ho Sung Pak. He does a bunch of voice acting and motion capture for video games. Let's see, Tekken 6, Devil May Cry 4, Resident Evil 5, Soul Calibur 5, etc. The list goes on and on and on. He might have done motion capture. 2014's Godzilla. He's uncredited as Godzilla. All right.
What?
We're going to put an asterisk on that. I'm going to assume it's motion capture acting. Where is it? Corey, do you remember a little movie called Death to the Supermodels?
How can I forget? It's sort of the cat fight, the ultimate female fighting game of movies.
Do you remember a scene where Lee Sung-hae fights a ninja?
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah, TJ Storm is the ninja.
Yeah, great, perfect,
yeah.
Amazing, cool. Yeah, I sort of blocked that out. I'm sure you did mention it, but
and then he went on to voice Brad Garrison in Dead Rising.
Someone had to.
Sure. Yeah, he's done a ton of just stunt work and motion capture work, voiceover work. His credits just go on and on and on. He might have been Godzilla in the 2014 Godzilla movie. And his name just pops up on like half the stuff we talk about just constantly. So shout out to TJ Storm. The last person I want to go super in depth on is the guy who played Lucky, Ho Sung Pak's partner, man named Taimak. You familiar with Taimak at all?
I am, but I'll let you get into that.
I know Taimak as the star of a very fun movie called The Last Dragon.
Yeah.
Which is like a cult classic sort of martial arts movie where he plays the lead character named Leroy Green, who, what do they call him? Bruce
Leroy.
Yeah. It's a good movie. I haven't watched it in quite a few years.
So I literally watched it for the first time last night because I knew he was in this movie, and I didn't think I was going to have a better opportunity to finally get to that movie. That's a real banger. I actually had a really good time watching that.
It is. It's kind of a cult classic. I don't hear it get talked about a whole lot, but like, doesn't the movie open with him literally like in a movie theater watching Enter the Dragon?
That happens a little bit later. It's kind of it opens with him like doing martial arts stuff against this like CGI rotoscoped golden sky behind him.
Oh, cool. Okay. And then I know he wears like the Game of Death suit and everything in it.
Yeah.
The jumpsuit. I gotta go back and revisit that one. When I saw that he was in this, I was like, shit, I gotta watch The Last Dragon again.
He's a lot better in The Last Dragon than he is in this.
Well, he didn't have much to do here. Right?
Although he does have like a very iconic dialogue scene.
You're gonna
I
hope you have it. I hope you have it memorized.
We'll probably get into that a bit. It's like at the beginning of the movie where they're talking around at the Chinese restaurant.
Oh yeah, the
of course.
I have a strong feeling that was entirely improv by him because it makes no sense.
We should do it. Do you want to tell the people about it now while we're talking about the
yeah, because I actually wrote down the dialogue for it.
Wow.
So they're sitting around. This is just like how the movie opens. Basically, I mean that you get like a bit of a spiel about the Book of Swords and the power that it holds, blah blah blah. But this is our introduction to the characters, and this is basically to show that everybody are kind of friends and they're all having a good time.
Everybody's cool and chill.
It's literally a table full of cops.
Yeah, but
they're passing all this food around. They're yucking it up.
Mm-hmm.
And then Taimak is telling this story, so it's kind of like it's dialogue to bring you into the scene, basically. It's like flavor,
sure,
but I'll go through the dialogue and you'll see how quickly it sort of just dissolves into absolute nonsense. So I was walking down Hollywood Boulevard, right? And I was walking down Hollywood Boulevard, and I got in my car and I was driving. I swear to God, Eddie Murphy had a jock strap on and his ass was hanging out. Yeah, he has one pink ass cheek and one yellow one. End of story.
No, that's still I mean, look, I was with him most of the way, right?
Right.
Look, maybe
he's walking down Hollywood Boulevard.
Maybe you're walking
right?
down Hollywood Boulevard. You're on Hollywood Boulevard. You get in your car. You're driving on Hollywood Boulevard. Yeah. Who hasn't done that?
Got it.
But then, and Eddie Murphy's been all kinds of places. Maybe the jockstrap is for a role.
Mm-hmm, maybe.
But then
the geography is off because, like, where is Eddie Murphy in this situation?
Was he in the car? Because he's like, I get in my car. Yeah.
Was he on Hollywood Boulevard? We don't know. No, and also, what's up with his ass?
We do know.
What does that mean? Like, what does it mean to say that somebody has one pink ass cheek and one yellow one?
I don't know. Did he like sit in something?
I think he's implying that they were like painted.
Right. Which is interesting because, like, what is that? For what purpose could that possibly be true?
I don't know.
I'm fascinated by that scene, just sort of as an example of, you very much get the impression that all he was told was just say something, just tell a story,
Yeah.
And it's like watching the human mind work.
He's like,
is sort of a fascinating process.
It might have been a true story, and they might have, because they're all friends. He might have been like, "Hey, tell him about the time you saw Eddie Murphy wearing a jockstrap. Use that. That'll be funny in the movie, right?"
Yeah, I didn't think so.
No,
I've never been on Hollywood Boulevard, so I don't really know.
It could have been one of those, like, the people that dress up as celebrities and take photos with tourists.
Sure.
Yeah, like the Shrek at the Hollywood Theater, who's like, give me $40.
Yeah,
this guy was
the Shrek who wears a jockstrap outside the,
or not the Hollywood Theater. What's it called? The Chinese Theater. The name of it, whatever, the one.
At least what it was called,
the big one.
Yeah. All right, so legendary improv from Timok. Corey, Timok also episode of Red Shoe Diaries. All right,
of course. He played the shoes.
Also, Striking Eagle on WMAC Masters. We did not talk about him. I did not know that when we did our WMAC Masters episode, but he was one of them as well. And there are stories, I don't know how true they are, that Timok was almost in the first Mortal Kombat game.
All the stories are from that other guy who tells stories.
There might have been stories from Daniel Pesina, but it is true that they were working on creating like the special, an African-American special forces character for the first Mortal Kombat game that they were going to call Stryker, right? And allegedly Timok, who was in this crew of the actors that they brought in, was going to portray Stryker in the game. But then they changed to the Sonya Blade character and then created Jax for the second game and Stryker for the third, etc. So it is, that's a legend anyway. That's his only connection to Mortal Kombat outside of being in this movie and on WMAC Masters with a bunch of the other actors. So honorable mention, I suppose. We've also got...
Considering when you introduced this Neil Nook, is it the longest one of all time?
I got two more and then we're done. And it might be the longest one of all time. We've also got another WMAC Masters alum, Star Warrior, a.k.a. Ho Young Pak, which is Ho Sung Pak's brother, right? He plays Q in this movie.
And he's got all sorts of gadgets and gizmos.
All right, KYU. All right, Jesus Christ. He was also in Ninja Turtles 2 and Ninja Turtles 3. And we'll give another credit here to Liesl Lombardo, who plays... I don't know what her name is in this.
Girlfriend?
What's her name? Who plays girlfriend? Beth. She plays Beth Howard.
Did they say her name at any point? Like, I genuinely just thought it was like played woman.
He must call her Beth at some point. I don't know. A notable credit for her, girl in bar in an episode of VIP, Corey.
Oh my God.
She was also on Sweet Valley High, CSI, And that's going to be it for the Neil Nook. There are other people in this, but it's been an hour, right? It's been 49 minutes. So
Dom, how's your morning going?
Yeah,
it's good.
You can be honest.
He's having fun. Quit trying to make this sound like a bad show, Corey. This is a good show.
Oh, excuse me for having jokes.
I'm pretty excited to talk about this movie.
All right, well, now's the time. We're gonna go over to the Corey corner, but I feel like Corey's gonna need some backup from you, Dominic, because I don't know what the fuck this movie's really about.
I think it's going to take all of our collective minds to figure it out.
I can give you the linear version, I think.
I think so.
I mean, we're not here to fuck spiders, are we?
Oh, that was bizarre. I thought he was saying it for a second.
I've got you on the soundboard, Dominic. Let's go over to the Corey corner and try to work through this.
Welcome to the Corey corner. Right. So, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
You got
So
this.
I'm going to start where the movie does, which is with a narrator giving you all the fantasy stuff. The
Right.
fantasy stuff is not going to be really relevant for about an hour, but
Right.
we're just going to tee it all up just to be sure. So
Even that is generous. It's really like 80 minutes.
Yeah.
it's relevant for about 5 minutes. Kwai Shin, yeah? You guys know about
That's
Oh,
the name.
You guys know about
Okay.
Kwai Shin? Kwai Shin,
Old mate question.
yeah. Kwai Shin's my favorite Power Stone character. Kwai Shin in ancient times founded a murderous cult that that terrorized most of Asia, but apparently not all of it, but most of it, and had sort of like zealous adherents, and it was sort of a Genghis Khan kind of situation of sort of conquest
Right.
and tyranny until that man died. And then it sort of pivoted away from we have Genghis Khan and we're doing violence and tyranny and into something more along the lines of we believe in sort of the supernatural and the potent magical powers of existing within the year of the dragon.
Right.
And using that power, this cult, which has persisted for centuries, is waiting specifically for the 21st century. They're very explicit about that.
Sure.
To resurrect the soul of Kwai Shin in human form as a sort of demonic presence to run amok on Earth again and sort of do the whole murderous cult terrorizing most of Asia and perhaps most of the world at this point. And part of the way that can happen is either it is described in the Book of Swords, or the power is made available by the Book of Swords, or perhaps the prophecy is written in the Book of Swords. Nobody can be sure. An old prospector finds it in the woods and nearly lights it on fire within 2 seconds of picking it up because he's using a survivor torch to light this dig that he's doing. And old prospector's just sort of hanging out there. I've just realized, is that the professor?
I think it's the professor.
I've just put that together literally right now.
Hans K. Shaw is Professor Manning.
I don't remember that bit at all.
I don't either, honestly.
What do you mean? This is right at the very beginning of the movie.
I
they're
just
doing
remember
the
like the
drawings.
animations, the drawings.
Yeah, there's a point where it cuts to him like pulling the book like out of the ground.
Okay.
And he's like digging it up.
Because I remember the end of the movie, the book being like buried again.
I'm gonna open up the movie and I'm gonna give you guys a screenshot here.
No, I have it open. I believe you.
No, but like I've already bothered opening the link, so I'm just gonna.
All right.
We're already here. So in any case, he's doing all that shit, right? And then it just sort of haphazardly cuts to our boy Hosung Pak just in the woods, walking through like a beautiful autumnal landscape.
Sure.
Which is gradually but inevitably overrun by a comical number of ninjas appearing from pretty much everywhere that you might imagine a ninja could appear from. And
this dude's gonna set himself on fire.
Dude, there's a point where he pulls the book out of the ground and like embers fall off of that survivor torch, and I'm like, he's gonna light the book on fire.
Jesus Christ.
Anyway, so he's walking through the hair. He's walking through the field. He has majestic hair. And he fights a bunch of faceless ninjas. I'm not gonna talk about the fight. I'm gonna save it. This is purely narrative.
Sure.
And then actually it was a dream. And then there is the world's longest establishing shot of Chicago. Then there is a title card of a quote from a book, and then there's the opening credits, which are more shots of Chicago.
Yeah.
Then we're introduced to sort of a buddy cop scenario.
Well, we have that scene in the restaurant.
Right. And this is the part where my notes might let me down slightly, but you know.
I got a question for you while we're at this point.
Okay, amazing.
All right. We know, so we're at the restaurant, right? And it's Hosung Pak as Lang, right? It's Timac as Lucky.
Yep.
We've got Lisa Lombardo as Beth. We've got Ho Young Pak as Q. And then we have Lang In Q's other brother, who I don't know is ever named. I can't.
Third guy.
Is he at the dinner?
He's there. Yeah, he's also there.
Because I thought he was like just introduced in the flashback, which I found really funny.
No, he is at the dinner.
Okay.
He's at the dinner, and then you see him more in the flashback to the dinner later. But
more is generous.
Right. It is. Yeah.
Flashback again.
Yeah.
I don't think they ever say his name. I don't see anyone on the who I can identify as that person on the IMDb page, right? Like, unless that's Charles.
Could be.
Charles is.
Could be.
Well,
we can't rule out that might be Charles.
It might be Gideon Chung playing Charles. Just want to get that out there. But what a thankless role, right?
So yeah, we get introduced to cops all hanging out at this dinner.
They all mention also various level of cop.
Yeah, we should mention that Beth is Lang's girlfriend.
Yeah, I also when we see her, I thought she was dressed as like a post officer or like a male.
Me too, and I was like, why does she have a gun?
Yeah. She's dressed like a Pacific Blue bike cop.
Why does she have a gun? So also lest I forget, the flashback to the field at the beginning of the movie, or actually it's a dream, but it looks a lot like Mortal Kombat Conquest.
It does. That is selling Conquest a little short, man.
No, but you know what it's a field full of ninjas.
I get it. It does evoke some of the wooded areas.
Yeah, it's not color graded as well, but like
it also kind of reminded me of the Johnny versus Scorpion fight in the 95 movie with all the trees.
Sure.
Selling that even shorter. So we discover
fair comparisons on both accounts. All right.
We discover that our two heroes are on what I thought was a drug bust, but we'll get to that. They're involved with a deal. They're like undercover cops who have been monitoring a deal for ages, it seems, and their police chief really wants them to get this bust tonight. Mm-hmm. And they have this weird moment where they do a buddy cop weird bit where they're given like fancy wires to wear that are like hidden in various technology.
They've got like walkie-talkie watches and pagers, and then the police chief says something to the effect of like, I was told this is like top of the line stuff that'll work, and then they both say by who in unison, which is like a really weird pseudo buddy cop thing to use to try to establish their friendship.
Yeah, but it worked.
And then so they're sitting in a car talking about chess.
Sure.
And then a payphone rings. And they get sent to a warehouse with what I described in my notes as a comical looking bad guy drug meeting. Which actually is a weapons deal, which was a bit of a shock to me. So they get frisked like 14 times, and I'm sorry, this is going to take me a while to explain, but it'll speed up once he turns into a vigilante. But spoilers.
Once he starts cosplaying as the Crow, it speeds up.
Yeah, once he starts doing his whole incel thing, it speeds up quite a bit. So they're buying like M16s and like rocket launchers,
like fucking rocket launchers,
in this warehouse, and then they lose connection with their fancy wires to the police, and then
the ones that are guaranteed to work, right?
And then by who? And then suddenly, they instantly know that they're undercover cops, and martial arts breaks out, even though they had been being threatened with guns up until that point.
Do you know what gives it's? I just want to expand on this a little bit. Shittiest police department in the world. They lose communication, so the cops start moving in, assuming everything has gone bad, and then the lookouts for like the arms deal just go, "Hey, we got cops moving in. Those guys must be wired." Like the fucking they blow it. You know,
they blow it extremely bad. And then everyone fights, and a variety of bad things happen, including but not limited to oh gosh, what's his name?
Lucky. Timok.
What's his character's name?
Lucky.
Oh, it is? That's his name? Okay.
Yes.
He gets shot to death.
Yeah.
Bad start. And then younger brother cop.
Yes. Unnamed
younger brother cop also storms in as they're attempting to escape. He also gets shot to death.
Yeah. Yes.
And we also discover that Beth has lit a dangerous number of candles in a bedroom, which is arguably as dangerous as getting shot. There's about 85 candles lit in their room. And
no one in this movie understands fire safety.
No. And
this was not, there was no safety meeting.
I just mean like the characters themselves.
Look, somebody was going to die that night, like no matter what. Yeah, the prospector was going to burn that book down. Beth has no sense for their apartment whatsoever. And also, I'm sort of intentionally ignoring the flashbacks to try to make this as straightforward as possible.
Yeah. Please.
We can flash back to the flashbacks.
Yeah.
Look,
and
I'm going to link the movie in the episode description. People can watch it for themselves.
And then, so this happens, and then Beth is trying to get in touch with him. And then what Ho-Sung Pak does is he gets in his car and he drives on the highway.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like sad songs playing and he's like, oh, my brother died, I'm so sad. And there's some flashbacks to 800 things we've already seen.
Yeah.
And it's implied that he's flying to the airport and then 3 years instantly pass.
Yeah, he just bounces for 3 years.
Yeah.
And in that 3 years, Q has moved to Mongolia.
Yeah, to do some sort of like warrior monk training.
Right.
And when we get back to 3 years in the future, presumably now we're in the 21st century. When did this movie come out?
With any luck, 1996.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So we're in the 21st century by now. Let's say it's 2000.
Yeah, it's about to be.
Oh,
yeah.
That's why he's wearing the leather jacket, because The Matrix just came out.
The Matrix. Exactly. He's sort of doing a Neo.
It's not a Crow reference. It's a Matrix reference now.
Sort of Neo.
It's a Crow reference in real life, but a Matrix reference in the movie.
In media res.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Chicago.
What if it's a Blade reference?
So before Beth goes to school, we see a room full of hooded guys.
They're shadow priests. Just call them shadow priests.
We see a bunch of guys in big cloaks in hoods. They look like shadow priests. And then this is the part where I'm going to reintroduce our weapons drug dealers.
Right.
And this is when they're established as being interested in black magic.
Taz, Apollo, played by Sean Gale, and Kevin Ula Christie plays X-Man.
Yeah, so
he's the new one now, right? Like, I think this is where X-Man enters.
They have candles and tarot and pentagrams and
a reference to the famous Marvel comic book superhero X-Man.
Yeah, and they're looking for the Book of Swords, which will be really cool, I guess. I will say it's never explicitly established that the weapon drug guys want to resurrect Kwai Shin and do all the book stuff. For all we know, he just thinks it might be cool magic shit. Cool.
I think it will
weirdness.
give them power of some kind.
Of some unestablished nature. But they're not implicitly attempting to resurrect Kwai Shin.
Do you know why they're doing this?
Fucking no.
I'll tell the reason, the literal reason why they're doing this, Corey, is because Rich DeVizio played Kano in Mortal Kombat, and Kano is an arms dealer with the Black Dragon who also dabbles in mystical arts.
Yeah, boy, does he.
That is literally like, I'll have more to say about that later. But
meanwhile, Prospector Mulligan, or whatever his name was, is giving Prospector Mulligan.
Change your Discord handle.
It's Horo Maid is out and Prospector Mulligan is in. He's giving one of the worst university lectures I've ever heard.
It's giving bad university.
And I'm gonna I attended BU, dude. BYU bad university.
He really is giving a shitty like.
No, and I'm gonna dwell on this for a second. I think we need to talk about this.
Yeah. Talk about like the great conquerors.
So we're just sort of suddenly talking about Alexander the Great, and I'm like, okay, sure. And he sort of implies that Alexander the Great and Genghis Khan both were implicitly meant to be leaders,
right?
And were sort of born with an inherent sort of intellect, strength, and like masculine persistence that allows them to be great leaders and conquerors. He describes it in part as conquest was born into them, which is one of the most like off-base arguments I think you could possibly make in an academic setting.
Professor Manning would be defending Elon Musk on X right now.
Oh my God. Professor Manning is Jordan Peterson. Like, it's horrible. And honestly, Jordan Peterson would be cooler if he was into occult stuff. Right now, that guy's just a fucking clown.
I don't want that guy to have that kind of power, man. Want you? Careful.
That guy can't find out that Power Stone is cool. But so Beth is in this lecture hearing about like the great men of history through like the narrowest lens imaginable and why like conquering is cool, which and they're attempting to do that like thematically relevant lecture thing, but it doesn't really work because
what the man says sucks and the man says it poorly.
Well, that too, but also like he's not there's no in narrative analog to the thing he's describing.
Quick,
can I step in for a second?
Yeah,
it just occurred to me.
Can you give us your opinion on Elon Musk and Jordan Peterson?
Oh yeah, well, I love them.
Big fan. Big fan.
No, it just occurred to me while you were talking about that I think what they're implying is that Alexander the Great and Genghis Khan were both vessels for the Book of Swords, in the same way that we find out that eventually Lang was kind of born with this like inherent ability to, I don't know, like inhabit the power of the dragon or whatever.
Yeah, you can definitely make an argument for that.
Wouldn't that imply then that power is positive? Because I thought that like they established Kuai Shin as like bad guy, like number one.
Right, but
I think what they're implying is that the only person that can take down Kuai Shin is the warrior, because they mention a warrior at the beginning.
Oh, I thought Kuai Shin had the Book of Swords initially.
Is Kuai Shin's...
I'm going to be honest that I have no idea. But
nobody knows for sure. Ho-Sung Pak doesn't know when he wrote this.
I will say, I read, just real quick, something I read in the IMDb trivia is that once they sold this movie, the studio that bought it, the distributor that bought it, edited the movie. And that is the version that we watched. So
there's like a director's cut out there.
I don't think anymore. I don't think there is anymore. I think they recorded over that video cassette with a birthday party or something.
Well, it's not good. And then I'm gonna try to power through the rest of this because I feel like I'm talking a lot and I want to let like Dom and you say stuff. But there's a lot to get to. Beth is in the class and she goes up to him and Prospector Mulligan just sort of like uses the Force and is like, your ex-boyfriend is in Mongolia. And she's like, wow, how did you know? Here's a picture of him.
That's not how that worked at all.
He's like,
she told him she wanted to go to Mongolia because her ex-boyfriend's
Sherlock said over. He's like, I assume your boyfriend is from Mongolia.
Well, yeah, no. Okay, so the part
your
that I'm
boyfriend
making
was Korean, and she's like, yeah.
He inexplicably knows that he's Korean because his brother was in Mongolia.
Okay, all right.
Which is
she
weird.
had a picture of him also. Like,
yes, and also why she was carrying that picture around for 3 years. Who could say?
I know that's the weirdest part.
It's his hair.
And then
thirsty.
the professor, the prospector,
he does have good hair.
Intuits that he was born in the year of the dragon
because he's standing in front. Well, he's standing in front of a dragon picture, and he's like, "What's with the picture?" And she's like, "He was born in the year of the dragon." He
drew it.
Shit.
He drew that picture as well.
Yeah, well, they should communicate it a little better, Neil. And my notes should be better because my notes say, why did you just fucking assume her ex-boyfriend is Korean but is in Mongolia? Why is she carrying that photo around? Why would the professor know anything about this?
This scene needed 5 more flashbacks to explain all of that.
It did not have enough.
And then the crow arrives.
And then the fucking crow arrives.
And so Ho-Sung Pak, it turns out, has sort of been like leather jacket vigilanteing around the city for a while. We don't know how long. It doesn't appear that he's been doing it the entire time.
No.
He has the world's largest leather jacket.
It is, yeah.
It's so big and the shoulders are crazy.
Yeah.
The shoulders feel like a relic of like a different decade. It's very bizarre.
This whole movie feels like the Mortal Kombat actors from the games upset that they didn't get to be in Mortal Kombat the movie.
So they wanted to just hang out for a while.
Do you think that he's like the implication here is that he stole Shang Tsung's jacket? Like this guy actually like fucked up Shang Tsung and took his jacket?
Maybe. I have a thesis about this movie for later, but I do really want to finish the narrative part because I don't want to go on for like an hour.
Do you want to turn it over to Dominic to take us home on this one? Would that be fun?
If he wants to do that.
If
to put
I
Dominic
can
on the spot.
actually remember what happens, but basically, yeah, he's become the Crow / Batman / Blade,
Sure.
and he's looking for Taz. He's looking all around the city. He's roughing up criminals.
Where's Taz? Right?
Where's Taz?
I'm looking for Taz.
Try
the Warner Brothers lot. Am I right?
Yeah.
I like how we have a soundboard and we're letting you just make that sound and then nobody says anything.
Right.
Put it on the soundboard.
Try the Warner Brothers lot. Am I right?
There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so he's looking around town. He's roughing up the criminals. Nobody really seems to actually know where Taz is. But
he's fighting
eventually
Daniel Pacino in a club.
He goes to a club. He gets in a fight with the bartender, who is Daniel Pacino. I still don't know how he actually finds Taz, but they do find him eventually. And
yeah, I think Taz finds him, doesn't he? Like doesn't he confront Apollo and Apollo leads him to Taz or something, and then they fight like in a subway.
That happens later.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like that happens later, but that bit is really funny because he gets into a confrontation with Apollo, and
a foot chase, right?
It's like in this this
on,
abandoned car park.
Isn't that later?
I don't know, dude.
But what happens before that?
I thought he doesn't do the foot chase with Apollo until like near the end of the movie.
Well, we're glossing over the middle
Well,
section.
kind of,
There's just a
yeah,
lot of him
nothing
going.
really
Hold on,
happens.
hold on. No. I think it's important that we talk about the part where he drops into an underpass like Batman, doesn't steal all of the computers, and then just beats up some guys.
Yeah, that's what we're saying.
Got a
He turns
van
into
full
the
of
Crow.
computers here.
Hey man, you can just take all these computers. And we've glossed over the dream where a bunch of ninjas manifest into the street with swords.
We don't need to talk about that bit. We already did.
I think we do because the visual is really funny.
Okay, all right, fine.
He's in a street. A bunch of
he
ninjas
plays
here.
chess in a stained glass church.
There's a lot of stained glass in this movie. There's a surprising amount. They really got all they could out of that church they borrowed.
Yeah,
right.
Oh, he reconnects with Beth after 3 years, and she's pissed off that he never contacted her. Oh, and then they go to talk to Prospector Mulligan, and he tells him about prophecy and the Book of Swords. He kind of gives him that information.
There's a tasteful sex scene with no nudity, which I appreciated.
Where she's just kind of dipping down and kissing him and going back up and then dipping down. She's like one of those birds that like dip into the water.
She's the drinking bird of...
Sort of the erotic drinking bird, if you will. Some people have described it as the Demodus and the Sword of Destiny of birds.
Jesus Christ. Keep going.
Brought to you by Peggy Good, dude. More like Peggy Great. Fucking kidding me?
So Lang learns that he might be the chosen one, basically, and he needs to find the Book of Swords, I guess. And okay, so that stuff happens, and then I think he gets into the fight, well, the chase with Apollo. How this happens is, I want to set this up. They're in like an abandoned parking lot, and they get into this like tense stare down, showdown, kind of the good, the bad, and the ugly thing between them, where it's like, oh shit, something's gonna break out. Apollo is smoking a cigarette. He's acting all cool, and he's kind of does this. He says kind of like, well, come on, tough guy, let's go. And then he just runs away as fast as possible.
Yeah. And he can run faster than Lang because he gets far enough ahead of him that he can like run up a fire escape and pull the fire escape up after him before Lang even gets close, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think they go into the rooftops. Classic action scenario.
Classic The Crow action scenario.
Just quickly, I did want to highlight Apollo's performance because he's probably one of the better actors in this movie. And I think he's been in like 3 other things.
Sean Gale, right?
Yeah, he plays this henchman called Apollo, and he kind of like is the coolest guy. He wears like in that weapons deal, he's got this like, I don't know if it's like a pinstripe blazer with the sleeves cut off, or if it's like a double-breasted vest. But there's like this pinstripe thing without any sleeves, and it looks awesome. And then I think he's the guy who shoots Lucky. Yeah, and he gets this like Lucky. He gets this great kiss off line where he says, "Go with God. Tell him Apollo sent you," and then he shoots him. Yeah, which I thought he says
that karate shit'll get you killed. Like after he shoots him. Like,
yeah, which is right, which is kind of what they should have done at the beginning of that.
Because we have guns, right?
Okay, so fast forwarding. So he gets into this foot chase with Apollo, and then does Taz show up and like pull a gun on Lang? Am I getting that right?
Car, do you remember? Yeah. So
repeat the question.
They're on like the rooftop, and then something happens that makes Lang kind of like freeze and like back off or something, or they like bring him to Taz, maybe at gunpoint.
How does Lang confront Rich DeVizio?
I feel like I have to enter my fucking mind palace just to put this together.
How
does he do that? Is this is after the guy in the sunglasses and the cigarette got stabbed to death, so I know that.
Do we want to take a detour with that?
to talk about that guy?
Let's talk about that for a second.
There's this like scene with the bad guys where it just opens on X-Man, and he's doing this kind of like bad guy monologue about power and like how he's just realizing that power is like important to being like a bad guy. And so he's doing this like monologue. We're not sure who he's talking to. It's framed as if he's like talking kind of to the camera, but like Taz is in the background. So you kind of think that, oh, they're just kind of like rapping with each other about power. But like it cuts to this shot of a guy in a close up, and he's got sunglasses on and a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. And you think, oh, okay, this is just like another henchman that's also there, maybe. And then he keeps talking about power, and he gets like a little bit more like menacing, and he's sort of like pointed. He's got this like pointed dialogue towards the guy with the cigarette in his mouth. Then it cuts to a wider shot, and it's revealed that this guy with the cigarette in his mouth and the sunglasses has been stabbed through the heart with a big dagger. It's an incredible image.
Yeah. Suddenly there's these knives involved, right? That's another Kano reference, by the way.
Yeah, and that knife gets up to some shit later.
Okay, I'm watching this now. So he kicks Apollo off a roof. We now have like a transition where we're seeing just like one of the skyscrapers in Chicago, and now Lang is just walking like kind of under the same underpass or whatever, and he's just confronted suddenly by Taz. So they just ran into each other on the street, I guess.
Cool.
Yeah. We're reaching a level of density in this explanation that is like difficult.
Well, we're now at the point where he is face to face with the villain, right? The bad guy. They get in a fight. I'll take it over from here if you don't mind.
Sure, it's a team effort. We're all doing it.
They get in a fight. Lang gets in a fight with Taz. Taz has all these knives, right? Or at least this one knife. And at one point he throws the knife at Lang, and Lang like dodges it, but the knife like boomerangs back, and Lang like pulls Taz into it, and Taz gets stabbed by his own knife.
Yeah, the knife was a boomerang somehow.
Is that an accurate depiction of these are two things that Australians are experts on, right? Knives. First, was that a knife?
I'd call it a knife.
Okay. And can knives be boomerangs? That's another.
Generally, no, but this movie has got me thinking otherwise.
I also do think, since it was the 95 Mortal Kombat movie that made Kano Australian, that this boomerang thing might have been a reference to that. I'm not even kidding. Like, I think that they might have done that on purpose.
I mean, there's got to be some reason. Maybe that's in the director's cut.
Maybe. So Taz is dead. In the director's cut, Taz speaks with an Australian accent the entire time. So Taz is dead, and then immediately Lang is like teleported to another realm that is filled with these shadow priests, including the master monk played by Bert Matthias.
He's teleported to like this castle dungeon looking place. and is almost immediately beset upon by more ninjas.
Right. After these shadow priests are like, you're in our realm now, and the power will be ours. And then they poof out of there. And then he fights a whole bunch of generic ninjas, including one lady ninja played by Catalin Zamiar. At one point, he ties a red headband around his head and is shirtless and looks exactly like Liu Kang in Mortal Kombat 2, right?
Yeah.
Like,
which is
exactly like him. And
definitely, yeah, that's a reference.
And then fights Melina.
I will say that I enjoy how they kind of made this for the fans. Like,
right.
They were a little bit, these guys were kind of a little bit bitter at the time because they didn't, they believed that they weren't getting enough money for their performances in the first, because they probably were paid kind of like peanuts compared to like that millions of dollars that those first couple of games made.
Yeah. They were they were like contract players, right? It was basically like, we pay you once and now we own
that's exactly
the likenesses.
Right,
similar things are happening now, right?
Yeah, like it's happening with this Mortal Kombat game, right?
Right, with a new one.
The Quan Chi actor literally got scanned into the game without him knowing.
Yeah,
it's
Anyway,
it's worse now than it was, but yeah, you're right. So they started doing.
It's good that they still like had this attachment to the games and to each other as well. Which that's the one thing about this movie is that it's definitely got a lot of heart behind it.
I want to get into this conversation, so let's just close up the summary. He ends up fighting his brother, who's evil for some reason, and then his brother.
Well, he's possessed by Kuai Shin.
Right, his brother's back from Mongolia.
Yeah,
we
don't really realize that until
the monk in Mongolia seems to know that this is going to happen and doesn't tell him by saying he would see his brother soon enough.
I guess he's not back; they're just both in this other realm, right? Anyway, he defeats him, but doesn't kill his brother, and then I think they bury the book, and the movie's over. Close enough.
Yeah. Basically, the movie does end very suddenly. I would like to. Are we talking about the movie now?
Yeah, but I want to let Dom finish his thought on, because I like this topic of conversation. Because you're right, this was a time when these actors, who they were doing like press things, right, to like represent Mortal Kombat, like endorsed by Midway, but they weren't getting paid well for their likeness usage, right? And the game was like a smash hit, like the series was a smash hit. So then they started doing stuff like this to try to capitalize on their reputation, like of being involved with Mortal Kombat, right? Like,
but it also does feel like they genuinely got along with each other. And I know that the reason that they came into the games was because Ho Sung Pak and his brother and Danny Pacina were like all kind of buddies, childhood buddies, and they all kind of practiced martial arts together. And they were kind of like friends with the production team.
Yeah, Daniel Pacino was friends with Ed Boon and John Tobias. And if you watch Insert Coin, he's the one who brought the rest of the actors. But they brought him in first. So they knew him and they knew he did martial arts. So they brought him in to do Johnny Cage and to be like the test for like the video capture, right? Yeah. And then he brought in the rest of these. He brought in Ho Sung Pak and Rich DeVizio and I forget the woman who plays Sonya in the first game.
Yeah, so it was good that it really does feel like they like enjoyed being around each other and they wanted to like kind of create stuff together.
Yes, they're all friends. They all trained together, and they're all really good martial artists too, right?
Can I make
Yes, they are, but this movie would, for the most part, have you convinced otherwise.
The movie doesn't do it justice.
I would also
a few moments. Go ahead, Corey.
I would like to make an adjacent argument to this.
Okay.
That I think perhaps better explains the quality of the film.
Okay.
I think it's really, really, really important to note that Ho Sung Pak is both the protagonist and has a story credit.
Sure.
There's a phenomenon in like relatively low budget movies where somebody like, and often in other cases, they like write and direct and star in it. Like it's a little bit more all over.
Right.
It's like somebody clearly made a vehicle for themselves because they wanted to be in a movie where they were the guy and got to do all the cool movie star stuff that people do.
Sure.
I don't necessarily think that this is wholly like a vanity vehicle for Ho Sung Pak. However, I do think that a lot of the execution of the movie and the weird framing around like him doing cool, edgy shit does feel like a byproduct of like I get to write a movie where I'm the star of the movie and I'm just gonna do whatever.
Yeah,
And
I can see that.
It
like
feels
it was
a
definitely
bit, like, misguided and scattershot kind of because of that.
Sure.
I mean, the only person who knows that in his heart is Hosung Pak, but I had that
Right.
story credit in the back of my mind for a lot of the movie because I think it's also potentially a byproduct of why it feels so like relatively nonsensical. Is like if this was just an excuse to like be the guy and do cool shit, like who really cares about narrative structure?
Important to note that I don't think he actually wrote the screenplay.
Yeah,
So
but
I'm
story
assuming that he
by-
kind of like gave a dictation or something,
Mhm.
or like a very thin
Yeah.
like one sheeter summary to this guy,
the-
and he just had to run with it.
The bartender who he like slams his head into the bar a bunch of times saying "Where's Taz?" That's the guy who wrote the screenplay.
Well, maybe they hit his head too many times.
Yeah, it's possible. Real
but-
quick, did Beth get kidnapped and that's how he knew where to meet Taz?
Well, she definitely got kidnapped.
Yeah. Okay. I'm
That's
remembering that now.
That's undeniable.
Right.
Because they break into the apartment.
Yes.
And a whole thing happens. But so I just think that's an interesting element of the way the movie's made. It informed it a lot for me, but I do think that there's like equal merit to just being like all these people want to hang out and make a movie. I also think that is equally likely to explain the quality, which is like if you're just hanging out and like making a movie, like who gives a fuck?
Sure. So, I mean, to his credit, like calling this a vanity project, man, all movies are fucking vanity projects.
I specifically said
like,
I didn't think this was wholly a vanity project.
You didn't say wholly a vanity project. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with him being like, I want to do martial arts. I want to be an action star.
But I think your lead, having had some hand in writing the story that the protagonist tells that is also him, can result in a movie that is more interested in letting a guy do cool shit than it is like being good or interesting.
We call that an Ong Bak 2 situation.
Yeah, there's certainly far worse examples of it than this, but it feels like it could be in that kind of realm a little bit.
Here's what I want to say about this and that whole idea.
This and that?
Uh-huh.
Fuck.
Making movies is hard.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Making movies is hard. And shooting action is hard, right? Like these fight scenes, it is very hard to capture. Like you got to know how to do it, right? Like wasn't that the whole thing with Mortal Kombat 95 was like the fight scenes weren't working and they had to like really rely on like Robin Shou and his experience like working in Hong Kong to like help the crew figure out how to frame the fight scenes? Yeah,
I believe that's correct. And then he choreographed the 2 extra fight scenes that they shot.
Right. So this shit is hard to do. Super hard to do like in an indie level also, and like with 0 budget, right? So
my issue with that is that I feel like they do know how to frame action, because that final fight should be mentioned is like legitimately good. I rewatched that fight scene and I was kind of like almost pilled into believing like, oh, is this a good movie?
Got a Book of Swords pilled.
It's a good sequence.
Yeah,
it is a good sequence.
It's framed. So the issue with the action generally, and this is kind of apparent from like that opening ninja fight, is that it's kind of that maybe they just did like too many setups, because it just cuts. It has wide shots, but it cuts to these shots where it's kind of just focused on like their hip movement. You don't really see like if like Lang is doing a kick, you don't really see like his leg so much as you just see his like hip moving. It cuts to like a close up, and it's kind of just like it kind of robs it of like any impact or any like geography, and that happens throughout most of the movie, except for like maybe that bar fight and then this last final sequence where it actually pulls back a little bit, like particularly like the fight in the church. It pulls back and it actually like lets you see them doing their movements, and then once that you will allow them that kind of space and you allow the audience to see what's going on, you really do see like, oh, these guys are like top of their game martial artists. They're really fast, and like when they're doing a lot of spinning, and so that you really actually get the sense of like
They're
flow of the fight, because if it just
and you can tell
them sort of like moving in a close
they're
up,
moving
spinning.
They're moving fast. Like they're not
really
they're
fast.
not moving slow. Like they're really moving fast. Like they have to be like really on with the choreography and stuff, or they're gonna like hit each other. Like I was impressed by how fast a lot of these like hits were and stuff, you know. And I think it just
these,
comes
like,
from
the kind of
the
spin
fact
kicks that they do are just insanely
Yeah.
fast. And they do make a point in the credits. I don't know if you saw it, but they have this title
Yes.
card that says no wires or special effects were used during the fights.
Right. And like to your point, the two fights that you mentioned, and I'll also put the fight with Rich DeVizio in there, are the best ones and the ones that make the most sense. Like when he's just fighting a gang of people, or you know, I don't know, someone who's not, like when like some of that warehouse fight where it's like guys with guns versus, you know, guys with punches and kicks, you know, not super exciting. I think there's some moments of that warehouse shootout that looked really good, but not enough of them to make it like anything more than a generic low budget warehouse shootout. But when it's like these guys who have been training with each other and who are friends fighting each other and like doing like figuring out the choreography together and memorizing it and like going full force into these fights, it does look really, really good. And those are the moments where they're like, there's way less cuts because they just don't need to. They can just leave the camera there and frame it.
It's what makes the flashbacks and the early combat in the movie so frustrating.
Yeah.
Is that it is such a flurry of, it's almost as if they knew roughly what they wanted, but they didn't know how they wanted it in the movie.
Right.
So they shot footage that they could cut into any kind of outcome. And as we've talked about, like the sort of whiplash that you get from like trying to track fight geography and just sort of like kicks and punches become like flurries of cuts rather than showcasing the talent that you could already be showcasing. Like that's the frustration point, which is like, even though the narrative stuff here is like whack beyond belief in most respects, you could elevate it quite a bit just by like every sequence up until the end could have been elevated by just a change in approach of how it was framed.
Mm-hmm.
But then the ending, I think, gets it the most right, where then you're just like, oh, these guys got it. Like they were, you know, who let them cook sort of scenario where it's just like, damn, they really fucking went for it.
Yeah. If some of this story shit had just been trimmed, right?
Which is remarkable to say about a movie that is 84 minutes with credits.
I know, but it's just like if they had really leaned into,
if they had leaned, more into the magic and the other realm kind of stuff, I think I would have been a bit more on board. If they had brought that in, more like halfway point or something,
and less of like this boring nothing of a professor telling him about it, and more like let's actually see this shit happening and see. Like I know they cut away to like the shadow priests on occasion doing like with their arms in the air.
I loved how
or whatever
cut to those scenes during that last fight, and it's just like looks like they're doing yoga.
But yeah, I think they should have leaned harder into that and threaded it through the movie a little bit more. But and less exposition, less like I don't give a like why did his it's
really funny how like they have a lot of exposition. They seem like they really want the audience to understand some of this supernatural stuff, and then they just teleport laying to this other dimension and they don't explain it,
and that's it. Just boom, you're in our dimension now, and soon we'll conquer the world, right? After the master kills you.
So it's interesting to see like what they thought needed to be explained versus what could go unsaid.
Yeah, man, it's too much. Just cut the shit. Get the professor out of here. That guy sucks. I don't know.
But,
what I was gonna say is like, so his nameless brother dies and his partner dies. We didn't need both of those, right?
No, I don't think we needed his second brother. Like,
no, it could have just been his partner, right?
It could have just been his partner. Yeah,
make his brother the partner, like his partner also. I don't know if the Chicago Police Force would ever let you do that, right? But yeah, it's just there's too many moving parts at the beginning, and none of them matter by the end, right? Because by the end, it's about something completely different. It's not even like a revenge like story anymore. It's about a book suddenly, and he's fighting his own brother. I don't know, man.
Yeah, like the internal logic has sort of been punted because I will say this movie. I'm about to sneeze, I think, so just bear with me here while I try to fight that off. With the power of the Book of Swords, but what was I saying pre-sneeze? That never actually came, which is kind of annoying in its own right. I'm just sort of saying words now while I try to remember the thing that I was going to say. Oh yeah, of course. That's where I was going with this. This movie needed to get a lot more mystical, a lot faster as well. I think that would have helped quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because it labors a lot of time in the early phase being like Kwai Shin and his fucked up gang of weirdos are about to really do a bunch of damage in the 21st century, and like we're gonna do cyber combat and the whatever the fuck or whatever. I made some of that up.
We're gonna interfere in elections.
We're gonna yeah. But then nothing happens for a really long time, and he does sort of his The Crow, The Matrix, The Blade kind of thing.
Right.
And none of that really needed to be there. I think that especially if you wanted to pay off the brother issue, I think that the setup could be very similar, but we needed to see the brother leave, and then maybe he gets indoctrinated into a cult that's doing the Kwai Shin shenanigans. And the thing that motivates Lang to get back on with what he's doing, back on the train, back into his normal life, is I need to save my brother from this sort of evil presence. And then they have the demon fight, and then when he like salvages his brother's soul at the end or whatever from the Kwai Shin tyranny, you can be like, yes, family redeemed, finally, beautiful. You know what I mean? That seems like it could have worked.
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot about this
just
movie
give me some demons, like
right.
Well, it's just random shots of hooded guys.
They didn't have the budget for that, man. Like,
just paint a guy.
Yeah,
just paint a guy.
John Carpenter could have done it. Right?
Yeah,
paint one of his ass cheeks yellow,
pink, and
pink,
and then the other one pink. Put them all in jock straps, and
you got yourself a demon.
Hot toe to tip. That's a demon. Just hire John Carpenter to get painted.
Sure.
Just paint him.
Just stick that guy in this thing with his ass cheeks painted up.
Yeah.
He's
just at home playing Xbox, bro.
Sure. This movie kept giving me vibes of a much better movie.
Yeah.
As in
it reminded you of a movie that exists?
As in, yes.
Or it had the potential to be better.
No, everything about this, like everything, honestly, like maybe because they were by the end of this movie borrowing from Mortal Kombat, even the mystical shit just felt generic, and the revenge plot felt generic, and the cop losing his partner felt generic, and it all just felt like really, really generic. Like they just mashed up a bunch of of basic genre things, right? But something about like they shot it locally specifically in Chicago, so you're getting these kind of like unique sort of like the scenes under the overpass and like the rusty,
I will say that
escape and stuff.
Chicago is like an inherently cinematic city, and
it
does
really
a lot
like,
of the legwork.
That's what all those establishing shots were for.
And it's really like a character in this movie,
And it's full of ninjas.
I will say the soundtrack was actually pretty good. I enjoyed it.
The soundtrack wasn't bad. Hold on, there's a music by credit here that I'll find in a minute. But what I was gonna say is like I don't know what about this, and I'm gonna revisit it. I haven't had the chance to revisit it. But Dominic, do you know a movie called Rapid Fire?
Yeah, with Brandon Lee. Yeah,
first of all, I love that movie. The movie's kind of like a sleeper hit. It's definitely a cult classic in my opinion. I hadn't watched it for years, and then like a year or two ago, I watched it. And Corey, I don't expect you to remember this, but I told you about it because I was so jazzed about it. I was like,
very vaguely,
and I don't know,
remember that.
I don't know what the association is, except that like they're both set in Chicago. That watching this
City
movie
of brotherly love, dude,
just made me want wish I was watching Rapid Fire instead.
Yeah, well, that's an incredible movie.
Yeah,
I can see some similarities. It's like Asian American lead, and there's this vibe of trying, at least like in that last fight sequence, there's definitely this vibe of like trying to bring classic Hong Kong action cinema to America in like Western cinema style, which they do not pull off in this movie until maybe that last sequence. But Rapid Fire definitely does a really good job of that.
Rapid Fire, by the way, directed by Dwight Little, who directed Halloween 4 and Tekken.
Cool.
Famously good movie.
Yeah, he's kind of a jobber. He does a lot of TV and stuff, but
dude, bro, he's a jobber.
Yeah, he's a jobber. Yeah, he did, Anaconda 2 maybe, right? And then like some Dollhouse, some Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with our boy Kevin Tancherowen. Anyway, man. But watching this movie made me want to watch a better movie set in Chicago with a similar theme and vibe. So I'm mostly bringing it up to tell people to watch Rapid Fire instead of this.
Do watch that instead of this. Yeah. But I will say, like, for as much as we have ragged on this movie, I did appreciate that there was a certain amount of sincerity behind it.
Yes.
It does feel earnest, which does help it to a degree.
Yeah, it has good vibes kind of radiating from the background.
They weren't phoning it in. I really believe they were trying to make something. They were taking it seriously.
It's a labor of love.
Yeah. I've never made a movie. I couldn't make a movie this good.
I would rather watch a really not so great put together movie that has kind of a heart to it and where you can tell that the creators kind of care about what they're doing than, a sort of middle of the road Netflix feature that they just made,
right?
And didn't give a shit about, really.
I don't know if I felt the heart through the whole movie as much as you both did, but I do agree that there is at least something to this that feels different than, like, I'm a little loath to use this word because, like, we all know it's a term that kind of sucks, but some other movies do feel like content rather than like an actual movie.
Right. They're just checking off the boxes, like the focus group boxes, right? Like,
yeah. Whereas this at least has stuff going on. I do think that I found more of the viewing process a little bit more frustrating, but that's inarguable.
It's like, look, this has good parts. It has good people involved. It wasn't successful, and it doesn't make for a movie that I'm going to watch again, or a movie that I'm really going to recommend other people watch. But the people who want to see this are going to see this, right? The people who are fans of these actors,
fucking us.
The people who have an attachment. There's like, it doesn't, like, I can tell someone not to watch this, but I know that at least 3 people are going to ask me for a link to this, right? Like, damn, I want to check that out. That actually sounds kind of cool. I didn't realize all of these Mortal Kombat actors were in this movie. I want to see that, right? Like, the people who want to see this are going to seek it out and see it,
Yeah, if you have an interest in these actors and, like, those original Mortal Kombat games, then I think there's enough in there that is rewarding for, like, hardcore fans.
Even if you like you like quote unquote bad movies, maybe you just like have an interest in low budget martial arts movies or action movies in general, right? Like, I will say, like, I have an interest in low budget action movies. This movie is better made than the Andy Sedaris movies I've watched, for instance, right? Like,
Hard Ticket to Hawaii.
I want to get around those.
Only one of those movies has an exploding frisbee and a snake in a toilet.
All right. Better than the Andy Sedaris movies with an asterisk. Okay. All right.
Only one of those guys has a hand-standing skateboard guy who gets shot with a rocket launcher.
Maybe I'm talking more about like Night of the Warrior and Gold, and like maybe Gold isn't a later one, but like the later era Andy Sedaris garbage.
I haven't seen any of those. I've only seen Hard Ticket to Hawaii.
Hard Ticket to the Hawaii is the one that they tried on. So that one's like in its own, like, that one's not what I mean when I say an Andy Sedaris movie.
Right.
If I can make a quick recommendation along these lines, yes, it was actually one that was mentioned in a previous episode, but you kind of glossed over it. It's White Tiger, which has Hiroyuki Tagawa in it as the main bad guy, and it stars Gary Daniels, who is kind of the he was like a British,
the American Ninja
martial artist, kind of a proto Scott Adkins in a way. But that movie is really good, and it's made on a low budget with like similar acting. Maybe it's better acting level, particularly because of like Cary Tagawa. It's Gary Daniels is like in his early career then, so he doesn't quite pull off the acting as much in that. But it's a really fun movie and has some great martial arts in it.
Nice. I will put that on the list. What year?
1996, same year as The Book of Swords.
Oh, George Chung is in this, dude. He's Master Cho from Conquest.
Oh, nice.
We're just completely off topic now.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Have you ever listened to the
also,
show, Neil?
Ron Yuan is in it. I think he voiced Sub-Zero in one of the Mortal Kombats.
That sounds familiar.
Him and Cary Tagawa both have like amazing fashion in this movie.
And in real life. Look at that fucking choke. I'm going to call it a choker on Cary Tagawa. You are 100% correct.
Yeah, what movie do I have to look up to see that? What title do I need to type in for that?
Well, I'm trying to get the picture for you.
Is this still White Tiger?
Yeah.
Okay.
Look at that.
Not from 2021. Wow. Yeah, that's something, huh?
Yeah, I'll post the IMDb. You guys want to watch White Tiger and come back and do another episode?
Yeah.
I'm down. I mean, I'm doing the show anyway, so it's really whether or not Dominic wants to show up.
This feels like something that might work better on our new show, Corey.
Yeah, we can get there.
Yeah, but
well, I brought it up, so I'm definitely down to watch it.
Yeah, you got dibs on that one. I also want you to come on that future show. Rapid Fire is on my list.
Oh, I think I recognize Gary Daniels.
So.
He's been in like a few modern movies. He was briefly in The Expendables and a few other things, I think.
Did you guys know that revenge has no limits, or rather it knows no limits?
Oh, he's Brian Fury in the Tekken movie, dude, directed by Dwight H. Little.
Thank God.
Yeah.
I feel like we're reaching a natural sort of conclusion.
I got one more thing. I want to go through a trivia entry for Book of Swords real quick before we wrap this up. Again, this ties it back into Mortal Kombat stuff. This is a long one, but somebody out there did their research, and unfortunately, IMDb doesn't credit trivia entries. So I'm just going to kind of read this, and props to whoever added this to the IMDb trivia because it's pretty dope. All right. When the movie got released, only 4 actors were introduced from the Mortal Kombat games: Ho-Sung Pak, Danny Pesina, Richard DeVizio, and Catalin Zamiar. There are actually 21 actors and actresses in this movie who were involved with the Mortal Kombat universe. All right. In Mortal Kombat 1, Taimak, who plays Lucky in this movie, was supposed to be the Afro-American karate champion Curtis Stryker in Mortal Kombat 1, but was replaced by Sonya Blade. I mentioned that earlier. In Mortal Kombat 2, Roy Kwok and Dong Sung Kim, who are stuntmen in this movie, were supposed to play the bonus characters Hornbuckle and Blaze.
Hornbuckle, dude.
Hornbuckle and Blaze.
Hornbuckle and Flame.
But were replaced by Smoke and Noob Saibot. Their characters are in the background of the pit stage, though. Again, some of this I think might be playground legend, and this is not research, so take all of this stuff with a grain of salt. However, 5 stuntmen in this movie played a part in the famous TV commercial for Mortal Kombat 2. Frank Molotto, who played the thug at the Jeep scene in this movie, was Sub-Zero in the commercial. Devin Reeve, who played the Tiger Assassin in this movie, was Scorpion in the commercial. Billy Deck, DEC, I think there's something cut off here. It was one of the ninja stuntmen was Baraka in the commercial. Christopher Lepps was the stunt choreographer. Who was the stunt choreographer for this movie, was Reptile in the commercial. Christopher Lepps, I believe, also stunt choreographer in Mortal Kombat Conquest, Corey. And Tom Radawan, who were one of the warehouse thugs, were Shao Kahn in the commercial. Also, the blonde girl dancing at the disco scene, played by Yofi, was Katana in the commercial. A lot of in the commercials in this. I'm just reading this basically verbatim. In the Mortal Kombat 3 commercial, Han Shaw, who played the professor here, played a role of a doctor, and his patient was played by Ryan Watson, who was the warehouse bouncer in this movie. Ho-Sung's Pak brother Ho Young Pak played the role of Liu Kang in the Mortal Kombat 3 commercial, who is asleep and wakes up from a nightmare. Ho Young Pak also plays the role of Q in this movie. Yeah, we got that. Alex Angelis, who played a police officer in this movie, was portrayed Kung Lao in a Mortal Kombat 2 poster. And Gideon Chung, who played the role of Lang's brother Charles, was portraying Shang Tsung in the poster too. And Kevin Christie, who played the evil role of X-Man, portrays Raiden in the Mortal Kombat 3 game, but was only used in photos and never used in actual gameplay. So I guess portraits and like media stuff, right? Liesl Lombardo, who was the love interest in this movie, was in an audition for the role of Sonya for the Mortal Kombat movie, but the role was given to Bridget Wilson. The narrator of this movie, TJ Storm, was in the Mortal Kombat movie as a guest fighter. And apparently some rumors are that Danny Pesina's brother, Carlos Pesina, who played Raiden in Mortal Kombat 1 and Mortal Kombat 2, also has a small cameo in this movie. So that is 21 different connections to different Mortal Kombat things. Most of that, I'm sure, based like around the fact that Midway operated out of Chicago and probably cast a lot of local people for their promotional shorts and commercials and things. But still kind of sick that there's like so much more crossover, right, than just like the main 4 actors. I know that was a lot, but and again, all of that is to be taken with a grain of salt because I didn't fact check any of that. There's also one more trivia entry on here somewhere where here it is. Some fans claim this to be the real Mortal Kombat movie.
That's not trivia.
It's not even. Yeah.
Also,
2 people found that helpful though.
Some fans like Sung Pak. Like, who is that? Like,
anyway,
my uncle works at Nintendo. Like,
yeah,
It sounds like Danny Pesina's telling some of his stories there.
sure, might be. Anyway, to sum all this up, like there is something about like Mortal Kombat, Midway's ties to the city of Chicago. This movie, obviously a Chicago production. I don't know. I just think that that's very cool. And so to kind of recap something I was saying earlier, I can't recommend this as a movie, but I know that there are people out there who are going to want to watch this if they didn't know it existed, and those people are going to be the hardcore Mortal Kombat fans.
come on, you have 80 minutes.
I was just going to say that there's definitely stuff in there that is good.
Yeah.
And if you've started watching this movie, then you have reasons to continue watching it.
Sure. Even if you just like fast forward through or skip through.
If you watch the first 5 minutes of this movie, pause it and put this podcast on, we're saying you should watch the rest of it.
I think the fight scenes are worth checking out, right?
Yeah, definitely that last sequence, even if you just wanted to like watch that in isolation, it's pretty good.
So if you fast forward to like 1 hour and 8 minutes and start watching from there, that last like 20 minutes or so or 15 minutes or so, pretty good. Looks very Mortal Kombat too, you know, with this tunnels in the stone and the stained glass and the bowls full of fire and shit, right?
Shadow priests.
The shadow priests all over the place.
Goodness gracious, great bowls of fire.
I think I'm out of stuff to say.
Yeah.
That's how all good podcasts end.
Final thoughts? Anyone got final thoughts?
No.
I think that was, I just gave them. Yeah.
I think we did it.
Yeah. Dominic, thanks for...
did it.
Is it 4 p.m. where you are now?
It's 10:44 a.m.
It's only been 2 hours.
We just had the longest conversation anyone's ever had about this movie, including the people who made it while they were making it.
We could have gone longer if we like kept trying to explain the
Every
middle
flashback.
of this plot.
Yeah. There's certain things we just didn't even mention, like
the go-karting sequence.
do you think it was edited like when they sold the movie and it was edited for release? Do you think it was edited for clarity?
No. I think there were more flashbacks. They took several flashbacks out. Yeah. It was 1 hour and 57 minutes, and most of it was flashbacks.
A 4-hour cut, right?
Yeah.
There's like that
it's like
clip
Coppola.
There's that clip of John Waters circulating, like giving advice, and one of the things he says is if you think it should be cut it. Like,
Yeah.
he's like, if you're wondering if you should cut it. Like, and these people were like, no, we're leaving all of these flashbacks in.
If you think you should cut it, keep it.
Yeah, that's their attitude.
You know who told that? Who told them that?
Shang Tsung.
James Land.
I don't get it.
The opposite of John Waters.
Oh, right.
Dumbass.
Look, man, that's what you keep me here for. It's shit like that. That's the deal, dude. It's been years.
Dominic, thanks for hanging out.
Thank you so much.
First of all, thanks for watching this, and thanks for coming on the show to talk about it. I hope you don't feel like you've wasted your time.
No,
what
I feel
a
like
depressing way to end a show.
I feel like I needed to talk about it because otherwise it would have.
What was it for?
Yeah, what was it for?
You got anything you want to plug?
The remnants of Action Twitter, perhaps?
Yeah, for as long as, that whole situation is still running. I have an account on Twitter, not calling it its other name.
We're dead naming this shit out of Twitter, and we don't feel bad.
See, I'm sorry, just to interrupt here. I had this conversation with Kenny on Crew Expendable because I called it X, and he's like, "We don't call it that." And I said, "I'm going to call it that because I want Elon Musk to hear how fucking stupid it sounds every time somebody says it."
He's an avid listener.
He's definitely listening.
Well, I want people to hear how stupid it sounds. It sounds stupid.
Okay, well, you can find me on X under @DomXHeart. So I've got X in my name. So, it's like,
Right.
That's how,
Yeah, because as we established earlier, you're a big Elon
That's
fan.
why I don't, I'm a massive Elon fan. I changed my middle name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter @DomXHeart. I'm on Blue Sky @DomXHeart. Just search me, either of those, and you'll find me talking about random action movies.
Ask him about the AFL.
And also, do you want to do a podcast where you, me, Corey, and Paul watch all the Three Ninjas movies and we call it Four Nanjas?
Yeah, I do want to do that.
Are we actually going to do that now? Because that's not a bad idea.
Yes, we're going to do that. And we're also going to do Surf Ninjas and, I don't know, maybe the Ninja Turtle movies, right? At least that first one. We'll talk about it.
So just to end the podcast, I think it would be fun if we all said together, Kwai Shin, leave, like Lang does at the end.
Yeah.
Oh,
do you guys remember that?
Exact enunciation.
So he says it like this. He goes, Kwai Shin, leave.
Yeah, I can do that for sure.
Yeah, let's do that. So just, I don't know, Corey, tell people to go to mortalkombatconquest.ca.
It's all there. You know it. You know it. You love it.
All right. And now, and until next time,
Kwai Shin,
leave.